I've actually been in the cargo business, as Melissa mentioned, for over 20 years. For the last 3 years, I've been an Esri go-to partner. Now, my agenda, and just so you're aware, I only have 8 slides, so it's going to go fairly quickly. We're going to get into a presentation demo side, but what I want to try to cover off are some key points that are going to be important for everybody. If you notice on the main PowerPoint presentation, you're seeing a logo called RGS Online Specialty. Well, the reason GREBIT is in the solution, is in the space we are in, is because Esri, there's a lot of clients that understand GIS and comprehend that. There's a lot of customers that understand BI and understand that. But there are not too many that can create a link between the two, and that's what we specialize in. We specialize in making sure that the BI customer knows where to get location information so they can integrate it into their BI space and actually have a location analytics strategy. So we come in very quickly and create and get the customer to understand this is where this information exists. So I'm going to click on next here. There we go. So the agenda is going to be very, very straightforward. I'm going to briefly talk more about Esri than GREBIT, because Esri is really the key behind this. Esri, and then I'm going to talk about why do you need a location analytics strategy, what types of clients are using location analytics strategy, and you won't be surprised on who's using it, but sometimes you probably wouldn't have heard that specific customers are using it and why they're using it. Then we're going to cover off a quick 5-minute presentation demo. In this example here, I had a choice picking many of them. I picked an education one just to be a little different, but there are dozens from oil and gas to retail to telco that we've worked with. And then hopefully we'll have a few minutes to do a Q&A session as well. Esri has been around for a very long time. They are considered the 800-pound gorilla in this mapping space. Most federal, provincial, state, county level governments actually have Esri in the back end. Most big companies don't even realize they have or touch Esri in one way, shape, or form. Most of the time, again, the GIS people are hidden in the background, creating their maps and doing their logic. As you can see, they are across the world. They have 1,800 business partners, GREBIT being one of them, and a stack full of clients from every vertical you can imagine. Why do you need location analytics strategy? Well, for the past 3 years, I've had the honor of being invited by Esri because we've become one of their go-to partners and because we can talk BI to be brought into some very interesting customers. And in the process of meeting these customers, what I've realized is the information, they've been doing location analytics for a long time, longer than 3 years. And the reason we probably haven't heard too much about it is because they're actually keeping that technology close to their chest. Not much is being shared as far as how they do specific things. And quite understandably, it's because it's a strategic advantage to them not to share that. So if you're hearing about location analytics strategy, say, but who's using it, who's doing it, and you're not hearing too much about it, is because things aren't being shared. What has changed recently, though, is one thing you'll realize is that customers, for example, a very simple example, it's not a fluke that when you get an email at a specific time of day from a person saying something, that it happens for that reason. A lot of major coffee chains, major retailers, insurance companies use this information to their advantage. Okay? Companies that do not have a GIS background tend to think that this is very difficult to do. But in reality, with what Esri has put together lately, the integration to a BI system like Cognos can be done very quickly and very efficiently without actually having a GIS department, if you wish. What Esri have done is that they simplify the integration or the correlation of the BI data to maps so that everyone can use this information. And we'll cover that in a little bit more detail in a little while. Customers that have been using location analytics for many years started by first analyzing, okay, what are our customers? What are they doing? What's their demographics? How much money do they spend? Where do they live? How long do they travel to work? All that information is they've started with. They've kind of gone past that now to the next phase or next level, which is why I've got the word customer profiling. For any company that really wants to understand their customers, they have to do customer profiling. And for you to be able to do customer profiling, you need a location analytics strategy to help you do that profiling. Because if you don't know where your customers or your business partners that you're selling to live, work, and the area around it, you can't really profile them to help your internal salespeople sell to them. All right? So where we start is very straightforward. We come in, or companies come in that have a location analytics strategy methodologies and would share the basics of how easy it is to integrate. A myth that has been going around for the last 3 years, every time I visit a customer that is not a GIS customer, think that it's complicated. We usually come in, and within 3 to 5 business days, customers are integrating their BI solution to a mapping location analytics solution in 3 to 5 days. Now, other customers don't know what they want to do yet. So what I suggest, if you are interested in the location analytics strategy but do not want to spend one penny, if you go on to the Esri website and you type in Esri Maps for Office or Esri Maps for Cognos, you can actually download the plugin for free. What you would need to also do is register for a 30-day trial license. So if you didn't want to do it in your Cognos platform but just wanted to get a feel of what you could do with your BI data, by simply installing it on Excel or an Esri Maps for Office and getting a 30-day trial, you could create a quick prototype in hours. Ironically, I worked with a customer this week that said, Harold, can you just show us how we can do this in Microsoft Office? And I took an export out of a Cognos report, in this case here was a logistics report, and downloaded a day's data into an Excel spreadsheet, and within 3 hours had half a dozen maps and layers that were fully integrated to their BI system via Excel. So if you just want to get a feel for how things work, the proof is it's not that difficult. Where it starts to get a little bit more detailed or technical is when you start asking, well, where do I find this specific type of information? And that is really where companies like ourselves come in to mentor you and point you in the right direction of saying, well, if you want these 5 types of KPIs or demographics or segmentation, this is where you should go. This is how you should bring them into your database so you can utilize them to analyze your entire data. So very, very quickly, very short. Now, I put this PowerPoint up because geography is relevant to nearly every decision we make. And one thing that you have to realize is that in your BI data right now, at least 80% of your data has a location component that can relate to other pieces of data that are non-BI data. So one thing you got to keep in mind, you do not have to keep the GIS data, okay, in your BI system. Because you have a location component, for example, your zip code, it can correlate back to a plethora of points within the Esri platform that would give you information, demographic, people, places, and so on. So it's very easy to link the two together. And the last point I have is that you as a customer may be selling to businesses. So you may be a B2B or you may be a B2C. In either cases, you can help either your customers understand their customers so you can sell more to them, or you can sell directly to your customers by understanding where they live, what they do, how far they travel, and so on. For the past 3 years, these are the types of companies that I've actually worked with. Insurance companies utilize location analytics quite extensively. And again, you don't hear from them because they keep a lot of this information quite secret, quite proprietary. An example of that I've worked with about 1.5 years ago was an insurance company that wanted to use weather patterns to be able to warn their customers as far as things going on. And in this specific case, it was a hailstorm that was going to occur, that was planned to occur in a specific area. So what they did is they transposed their customers and the weather pattern from one of the service providers, got the list of all the customers that were going to possibly get hit by this hailstorm, and sent them a text to tell them to please put their cars away. And at the end of the day, they ended up saving millions and millions of dollars of claims. So that simple task, which probably took 15 minutes to do, changed the way they operate when it comes to risk recovery. Another simple example was in the loyalty side. I worked with an airline company that wanted to track, based on their loyalty and the loyalty level, what type of people traveled where, but they actually wanted to see flight paths to see at what time of year, where the demand was, and they went one step further than that. They looked at their loyalty programs and the people that are in each level, and started analyzing the demographics of those people and when they would travel. And the reason they did that is because they understood that certain people like to travel in the summer and the winter and so on. They negotiate the points with the airlines when they buy for the loyalty. So they were able to figure out the best time to buy the points to negotiate for the people for when they travel. So it was very interesting. Telcos, I've worked with a few telco companies in the United States to do some very interesting analysis. Again, the reason I don't mention the names and what was specifically done is because of the NDAs we cover. Every time we come into a client, the NDAs or whatever we do as far as a location analytics strategy is and cannot be discussed outside of the companies. So it makes it very interesting. All right, so now on to the demo. I've decided in this example to demo, I've worked with a very big school board, the School Board of Ontario. One of my clients is a big Cognos user, and they support over 2,000 schools across Ontario, Canada. And the process was to show how Cognos and Esri Maps for Cognos can help them visualize things as far as student profiling that they wouldn't have maybe caught just by looking at a list of students and their grades. So I'm going to walk you through this, but at the same time, what it's going to cover off for those that have not seen have not seen how Cognos works how Cognos and Esri work together, you're going to see some functionality displayed at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I hopefully can just switch over to my video. So what you're looking at here is a map of all the school boards of Ontario for the English-speaking school boards. And when I start this video, I'm going to walk you through a couple examples of how the map is actually interactive with the charts and the lists on the right, and how other tools within the maps can be used to help you analyze and visualize the data. So quite simply, when you're first looking at this map, I want to show that the legend is actually interactive to the map. So if I want to focus on a high level total number of students or another KPI, I can do that. Now for those that, you're going to see the word EQAO, and EQAO in Canada it's an equivalent scoring mechanism to see how students grade, because we do grade 3, grade 6, and grade 9 tests to see how they do in comparison to everybody else. So we actually analyze EQAO trends based on that. So very quickly here, as you see, the map is focusing on an area, and as I zoom in, I don't know if you noticed, but another layer appeared. I didn't turn on that layer. It automatically appeared. As I zoom in even further, the previous layer disappeared and a new layer appeared. So this process allows you to go through this, and what you're looking at here, another visual component is you can do what we call clustering. So all I want to do is how many students are trending, have increased, or how many schools have increased versus decreased. The tooltip that shows up here is customizable, and that's all driven by the queries you build in within Cognos. So that's very straightforward. One of the things I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to zoom into one specific school, and I'm going to start doing a little bit of analysis for that school. You have the option of also changing the base map to a more detailed map, even to an imagery map, something like Google Streets, but not quite the same within the Esri platform. So in this case here, I'm going to simply zoom into a specific layer. And notice very quickly that I'm actually analyzing multiple measurements at the same time. And it's just by choice that I wanted to know 2 or 3 things about this specific school and these specific students. So where I'm going to go now, I'm just going to pause this for a quick second just to explain what we're looking at. So for every student, okay, I'm trying to monitor how the student did in grade 3, in his grade 3 scores, how he or she did in their grade 6 scores, and the same thing for the grade 9. So I'm kind of spotting that some students did bad in grade 3, but as they grew up and went to grade 6 and grade 9, they kind of kept on capturing. Where we're noticing here, the bottom 3 students here, grade 3 they did well, but as they grew up in grade 6 and grade 9, their scores got worse. So I'm trying to figure out if there's going to be a pattern to why this has occurred. The other thing I'm turning on is incidence and gender. So I'm trying to spot to see if there's other correlations to why these students are not, why these students have downgraded. So in this case here, the tooltip, I don't know if you've noticed that very, very briefly. Because I clicked on a specific student, I've made it trigger certain things to happen on the right-hand side. So my charts and my lists are triggered by how I select something on the map. So the map is directional in the sense, if I highlight an area on the map, it will trigger updates on the lists and charts. So as I go through this process, one of the things I'm going to add a layer called my bus route layers. And what I'm trying to correlate is to see if the students that are doing bad are being affected by that student that had a lot of cases or incidents, which is that point number E on the map. And what I'm seeing is one of the tools that it allows you to do is I can select the bus route and I can highlight that route. So in this case here, I'm going to highlight a specific part, and it's going to give me all the students for that area. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go find nearby how they did in grade 9 math. In my case, I changed it to kilometers just because I'm in Canada today. And notice the maps and the charts on the right got updated. So in this example here is the principal got called that a bus broke down at a specific part of the highway, and they want to be able to know who got dropped off and who did not get dropped off. So this example here is the bus left the school, got to this point, broke down, principal gets a call. I need to figure out who's left on the bus so I can reach out to the parents. So very quickly, because I know the bus routes and where the students live, I was able to highlight an area and figure out which students were left. And again, the next step, my list would not look like this, but I could probably send an email out or get a phone number for each one of these students through a drill down so I can contact the parents and warn them that there was an accident and that their kids are in this specific area. And lastly, one of the things that you can do is within Esri Maps for Cognos, you can actually share these layers within what we call Esri's ArcGIS Online platform, which I'm not going to get into at this point in time. This was a very short, very brief presentation of some of the capabilities that Esri Maps for Cognos can do. There is actually quite a few more, but this is where I wanted to start, so at least to give everyone an idea of what can be done. Again, that's my brief, short presentation, but I am open for some questions if anyone has any.
Harold, there is a couple questions in the chat window.
Fantastic. Now, should I see those questions in the chat window as well, Melissa?
I can read them off for you. That way everyone in the audience can hear the question.
Sounds
So
good.
Trevor says they purchased a standalone version of Esri as the department didn't know that there was a Cognos version. They do use Cognos. Should we use two versions or convert or stick with what we have? And what would be the benefits of doing so, considering that Cognos already has maps?
Okay, so when they bought the standard version, is Trevor talking? I got to assume that Trevor is talking about the ArcGIS desktop version and nothing to do with the Esri Maps for Cognos plugin. So the standalone must be the ArcGIS desktop version. Is the only thing I can assume, unless he's talking about the ArcGIS Online version, which you would still need to be able to get the maps to put on Esri. So that's the first question. If Trevor can say reply to that, that would be great. But the benefit is that it's hard to answer the question not knowing if he bought the standalone version, that means he has an ArcGIS Online license, I would imagine. And if he has an ArcGIS Online license, then he can use it in Cognos. There is no cost to download the Esri Maps for Cognos plugin, because the only way the Esri Maps for Cognos will work is if you have an ArcGIS Online subscription, or, as I talked about before, a trial license. But if they have a login, an organizational login to ArcGIS Online, then they are already set to go. And I hope that answers the question, but maybe you can reply back, or I can follow up a little bit more after if you would like.
Sounds good. Another question. So how long does it take to install, and how quickly can someone be up and running?
I've installed it as quickly as 2 hours. And the key to up and running is depending on what you want to map. Because in an existing customer's database, there is most likely, right off the bat, a zip code, a city, a state, and that is already what we call geo-enabled. So therefore, within 5 minutes, and your framework model would at least most likely have those fields available to the report writer, you can create a report similar to my beginning report where I have my regions here very, very quickly, meaning in minutes, not in days, all right? Was there 2 parts to that question, Melissa?
I think you answered it all. The install part of it.
Right. The install is very, very straightforward. It's definitely a technical install because you have to get into the services and set up. The install is almost a mirror image of how you would install Cognos, but with less complexity because you're still setting it up in the same environment. It's very, very straightforward once you've done it a couple of times. But even if they didn't want to do that and wanted to play around with it, I go back to go put it in Esri Maps for Office, and they can do quite a few things. Can't do it. The Esri Maps for Cognos functionality is much greater than the Esri Maps for Office functionality, just so we're aware. But for generic proof of concepts, you can go either way.
We have another question, and so Mike wants to know: is the download available on Analytics Zone?
It is. If you go to the Esri.com website, when you go into products, you'll have a location analytics solution. When you go into location analytics, there are many products, okay, which they're all there. But if you scroll, so if you go into the solutions here, the solutions tab, within that is you follow the links, and it'll get you right to where you want to go to download the product. And it's got a PDF of the install, the technical installation, and also the simple how to do certain things within the maps. So it is very straightforward. What it doesn't have, and again, I'll give everyone a little piece of advice is if you create a map within Cognos, you need some best practices to make sure that it renders fast. A lot of the mistakes that every time I walk in for the last year and a half to a client is that, the performance is not very good. And the reason the performance is not very good is because they haven't used best practices on how to build their queries that the maps read. So it's just a word of advice and a warning to make your queries as simple as possible, aggregated at the right level, and you will get much better performance out of the Esri Maps for Cognos.
I'm going to go back to Trevor's question really quick. One part of it, he had also asked, what is the advantages since there's already maps in Cognos? Trevor, just so you know, I've worked with the maps extensively in Cognos, and what it is it's a lookup table. And so if you don't have your query in your database matching exactly what's in that lookup table, it's not going to render properly. So if you're going down to the county level, I mean, there's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of counties. So the benefit of Esri here is that if you have, a zip code or I believe a longitude and latitude, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Harold, that it connects very quickly and very simply.
And if I can add one more thing to that, to Trevor, is that the other main benefit is, as Trevor says, there is maps already in Cognos, but the one thing you can't do within the maps is I can actually bring in additional map layers that are not in my database. An example of this is I've got all my clients in an area, and I want to know how many clients are within 1 kilometer of a river in that area. Well, Esri, for example, have a map layer called Rivers of North America. So I can bring that layer in to my Cognos layer and use that as part of my analysis. Or I can bring in, for example, there's another layer that gives you where all the forest fires are occurring in North America. So if I wanted to know, i.e. I zoom into the California area, I would see where all the forest fires are, and I could create a buffer. Say, okay, give me all the clients that are within a 50-kilometer buffer of each one of those fires. And within 3 minutes, I would have that. Now, the beauty of that is that layer of adding, we're adding the layer forest fires, I could do that on the fly. I don't have to I don't know I'm going to ask that question till the question is asked of me. So I don't have to go back to Report Studio and add all this information. I can do certain things on the fly as far as adding layers, which is very cool. Okay.
And absolutely, because Cognos, when it comes to their basic reporting, they don't have all their layers. So take the U.S., you have a state layer and you have a county layer. You're not going to be able to get down to a zip code or a street layer. So absolutely.
Correct. I mean, and that is, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, the other thing about the Esri, and I hate to say this, but for certain departments that are very visual, pretty goes a long way. So like marketing departments are very visually attuned to things. And so if, and people who are very strategic also are very visual. So the visuals in Esri compared to the simple maps in Cognos are outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some examples with a couple of coffee companies and a couple of big bicycle companies in California that they've actually integrated the Esri maps from their web tracking. So they know the people that are visiting their website and the characteristics based on the IP address. Some of them actually have put it standalones, but some of them have actually integrated it with Cognos so that all that information resides in the Cognos side, and they analyze their web traffic and they characterize and get customer segmentation, tapestry, what type of customer, age demographics, anything they feel important that they're going to sell more of their product in. So it's gone to a whole new level. What we're doing here is location analytics, and something I should have said right from the location analytics is not about putting dots on a map. If you think that's what it is, then if you think that's what it is, then that's not right. Because location analytics is not about putting dots on a map. It's about understanding your customers by being able to profiling them based on location, and it changes the game. Every customer that I've worked with that have implemented a location analytics strategy via Esri Maps for X has gained so much insight and have increased their numbers, period. I can't tell you how important that is. And the thing is, it doesn't cost a lot of money. You're not talking about a $300,000, $500,000 investment and a 6-month project. You're talking between a $20,000 to $50,000 investment and a 2-week or a 3-week project. That's the difference. Esri's created a tool that's easy to integrate with now.
Harold, thank you so much. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add? I know we're running a little short on time now.
I personally, again, I want to thank you guys, and for the listeners out there, is the only thing I would like to say is don't be scared of going out and playing with the tool. It's very simple, and you can get a lot of quick wins, even if it's in the proof of concept, with the people that you need to show it with, because once you show a map to someone, the second you show that map it starts making you ask different questions very quickly just by putting those dots on the map or putting the polygons and the layers on the map. So that's my advice. Don't be scared to use it. Go give it a try. Spend a day, spend 2 days, and you're going to see that it was well worthwhile.
Perfect. Harold, thank you so much for your time. For those of you who want to share this presentation, we are going to have it out on our YouTube channel in the next day or two. So again, Harold, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.